On the eve of Valentine's Day, my heart suddenly stopped and I died for a full 5 minutes. I'm only here today to share the full story of what happened because my partner, my lover and my hero performed life-saving CPR that brought me back. This video is the full story.
My heart literally stopped on Valentine's Day.
2 weeks ago, I came home from the gym as I do every day. I was feeling a little bit off, but nothing major. I cooked some lunch, a couple of steaks and salad, that's my diet. My partner's friend was here and joked, "That's a heart attack on a plate," when she'd seen the 2 steaks that I was about to chuck on the barbie. Oblivious to what was about to follow. By the way, the steaks had nothing to do with my cardiac arrest, so before all you vegans get excited and tell us that soy saves lives, sorry to disappoint. I just thought that it was kind of a funny fact that she made that comment shortly before I died of essentially a heart attack. After I ate, I went to lay down for a bit and I asked my partner Rhonda to wake me up at 3 o'clock so I can go to work. I had a cameraman ready who was meeting me in a suburb in Melbourne to do my next story, which hopefully now I'll get to next week. But the next thing I knew is I woke up in hospital with tubes running out of my mouth and a catheter full of urine. I know most people want to see if I'm okay, which I am. I'm on the mend. But the truth is, Rhonda is the one that lived through the scariness of what happened, not me. Today, she's going to share it with us all. And for obvious reasons, I'm going to hide her face. I hope you understand.
You asked me to wake you up at 3, and I had a friend here and she had to leave and I said, "Oh, what's the time? I have to go wake Avi up, he has to go to work." And it was like 10, or I think it was about 11 minutes past 3 or something like that. So I saw her out and I actually thought I heard you in the shower. So I thought that you'd actually gotten up. I thought you had got up and was getting ready for work. I went to the bedroom and I opened the door and you were laying there and I thought, "Oh, that's unusual. You're asleep." Like normally you're quite a light sleeper as well.
The fact Rhonda walked in at this point was critical to saving my life. Another minute would have been too late. Something as simple as going to the bathroom before coming to wake me would have been fatal, or at the very least would have caused me significant brain damage.
Your head was kind of on a funny angle as well. You didn't look right. Anyway, I walked over and your face was kind of grey and your eyes were rolled completely back in your head.
And what did you feel?
And I thought that you were mucking around because
I'm like that. I would do something stupid like that and then like come up and shock you or something.
Yeah, and you do that weird thing with your eyes.
Oh, yeah,
so.
like this one.
Yeah. No, when you roll them.
Oh, like that?
Yeah.
So you thought I was just doing a bit of
I
that?
thought you were mucking around, but then your colour, and then, so I was shaking you a little bit. Avi, wake up, and obviously you didn't wake up. And then I started slapping your face and it was quite hard and you didn't respond, obviously. And
that was one of the things I know when I woke up, you asked me, you felt kind of guilty about my face. You're like, "How's your face?" And my friend also was there and I was going, "What about your face?" She's been going on about your face.
Yeah.
So you were like slapping me
really hard and nothing.
Response. Just imagine that for a second. You found the person you love, unconscious, unresponsive, and discoloured. I can't even imagine how I would feel if the tables were turned.
I called 000. I was running back into the bedroom.
This is the exact scenario where your body goes into fight, flight, or freeze mode. I'm just so freaking lucky that my girl is a fighter. Running back to the bedroom while on the phone to 000, which is our 911, is fight mode. My sister later described it best when she said when she was trying to picture herself in the same situation. She was saying, I think I would have frozen like a deer in headlights. And the truth is, most people would.
She just said, you have to get him to the floor. She said, grab the doona and his legs and pull the doona to the end of the bed to get him off.
Because I'm probably, I don't know, how much do you weigh? Are we allowed to say that?
About 55 kilos.
55, and I'm about 80.
Yeah, you're about 30 kilos.
I'm heavy for, in comparison.
Yeah, and
so you got me over. Was it hard to get me to the end?
No, not really. I just dragged you down by your ankles. Actually, I grabbed your ankles, pulled you back. I sort of dropped you to the floor, but you landed with your
Oh my, because you've asked me, you keep checking on me. Yeah. My shoulder. First it was a slapping, then it was a shoulder, but nothing. The only pain I currently have, which I'm struggling with, is here, but that's coming up, obviously. Why?
And then, so you kind of fell to the floor, and I said to the operator, I said, I think I've broken his shoulder. And she said, don't worry about the shoulder. And and then, so you sort of landed, and then I positioned you, long ways. And then she said, you're going to have to start CPR. And
so at that point, you could tell I wasn't breathing.
Well, you weren't breathing. And I was saying to her, she said, what's happening? I said, he's not breathing. You weren't breathing at all.
So on the bed, you actually went down to check. How did you check if I was breathing, or you could just see I wasn't?
Because you had nothing on. I could tell that you weren't. You were kind of making a funny noise at the start before I pulled you off the bed.
Which you described to me as like a choking, which made sense later because I got pneumonia. That was an addition. Most people freak out when you just think of the idea of getting pneumonia. But I did get pneumonia because I had some vomit that
aspirated your lungs.
Which would have drowned me. And that's probably the sound you heard me drowning.
But then when you're on the floor, you weren't breathing. And I could see because there was no rise and fall.
Yeah. Okay.
And then she just said, you have to start CPR. So I took the phone and put it on your on your stomach and put it on speaker and started chest compressions.
And how did you know what to do?
Well, I don't know. I have done a first aid course 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, lots of TV.
This is where you need to understand that only 1 in 10 people survive cardiac arrest. The survival rate when a non-medical practitioner, like in my case, performs CPR is still only 47%. Meaning, at this point, I was still more likely to die, especially because I had stopped breathing and was without a pulse for about 5 minutes. Did you get tired?
No.
You didn't get tired?
No, I just did it. I didn't have time. Well, I didn't have time to think. The operator she just said, I'm going to count with you. And she was 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And at times I was counting with her just to keep myself focused on what I was doing.
Anyone who's ever done a first aid course, and I've done a few in my life, would know how hard it is to maintain compressions for even 20 seconds, let alone the 8 minutes she kept pumping until help finally arrived.
You could see it changing. You could see the colour changing. And then, I don't know, maybe I wasn't pushing as hard for a second or something, and it sort of drained back out again, and I just kept going. And I think at that point I was like, where's the ambulance? I was panicking at that stage.
It sends shivers down my spine, picturing the scenario. Rhonda was my heart. She was pumping the blood around my body, and if she slowed down at all, she could see the colour change again.
I sort of saw them come up past the bedroom window, and I kept going until I knew they were at the door, and then I just jumped up and ran and flicked the door open, and then they ran into the bedroom.
To the 14 emergency service men and women who responded that day, first the fireys, then all the ambos. If you're watching this video, please consider it as a personal thank you. You worked on me for almost 2 hours before stabilizing me enough for transport to the hospital, and I am forever indebted to you.
They told me as they were putting you on the stretcher that they'd put you into an induced coma and that you'd probably be that way for 48 hours.
At this point, they were still expecting the worst. They had me stable, but that's about it. When I arrived at the hospital, I was sent straight for the resuscitation bay for patients with critical conditions in the emergency department.
I was standing next to you and I was just patting your head, and I put my hand and I was holding your hand, and then you opened up your eyes, which was really good. But you couldn't talk, obviously. I said to you, it's okay, you're in the hospital, you're going to be okay. And then I said to you, I'm holding your hand, can you feel that? And you squeezed my hand. And then I said, just close your eyes and you're going to be okay. And then the doctor said that that was quite amazing, that you were under quite heavy sedation and you were still trying to be awake.
I was telling someone before, I was just trying to enjoy the medication.
Yeah. And he said that's good. It's showing good brain activity. At that point, you did a thumbs up. And
was I answering something, or was I just?
Yeah, I think when they said about the brain activity, I think you would.
The brain still.
The brain's still
like
working.
Me. Even when I'm unconscious in an induced coma, when you talk about my brain, I put a thumbs up. All jokes aside, that was a pivotal point. Until then, they had no idea what the effect of being unconscious, not breathing, and not even having a pulse had on my brain. I was then transferred into the intensive care unit where they began tests on my brain, arteries, and obviously my heart. They were urgently trying to figure out if I'd needed any emergency surgery to save my life. It turned out that my arteries were clear and there were no blockages on my heart, and thank goodness no surgery was required. As you can imagine, when I finally woke, I was a little bit disorientated. Probably from dying, or the medication wearing off, and the fact that I had tubes shoved down my throat and a catheter full of urine. But I remember her, the super empathetic Filipino nurse, calmly explained the situation and explained to me and told me how Rhonda had saved my life. The next thing I remember was that emotional moment that Rhonda approached my bedside.
You said, oh my God. And then I'm like, you said, what happened? And I just asked you what they'd told you, because I didn't know what you'd been told. Yeah. And you said, I died on the floor for 5 minutes and I had a cardiac arrest.
That was heavy. And over the next few days, she didn't leave my bedside as I underwent comprehensive testing on my heart. At first, the cardiologist indicated that I would most likely need to have an artificial cardiac pacemaker implanted to ensure that nothing like this ever happens to me again. Having to undergo that sort of procedure, the idea of it began to send me into a state of fear and depression. I guess I wasn't sure about what the impact that would have on the rest of my life. But as the test results returned, it became evident to the doctors and to me that my heart was in perfect nick. I didn't need a pacemaker, and in fact, I was in no more risk than the next guy to ever suffering another cardiac arrest. They told me a statistic that I'd never thought of before. Apparently, the biggest killer of healthy men under the age of 40, I'm 35, is sudden cardiac arrest, just like I had. The second happens to be suicide, but that's for another time, another video, and there's certainly a lot to say there too. My cardiologist concluded that based on my last year, this cardiac arrest was likely to be stress-induced, and perhaps a new pre-workout supplement that elevated my heart hours before may have been the final nail in the coffin, so to speak, no pun intended. I was then discharged from the hospital on strict conditions of bed rest, no driving for up to 6 months, no working for a while, no gym at all for a few weeks, and then gradually getting back into it, but certainly no more high caffeine pre-workouts. My recovery is going great. I've spent the most of the past 2 weeks in bed. I am going a little stir crazy, and that's why I'm going to start working slowly, I promise, doctors. Rhonda's taken me out on a couple of excursions to places as exciting as Coles to do the shopping. But even, to be honest, even that gets tiring at the moment. The only physical pain I'm currently in is my chest still kills from those compressions, which she keeps telling me is there to remind me that she saved my life. I'm asking you to bear with me during my recovery period over the next couple of months. And please do continue to support our work financially at tr.news/support. Because without your generosity now, I don't know how I could survive this to fight another day. Again, tr.news/support. When I finally got home from the hospital and we had to have that tough conversation with the children about what happened, we weren't actually planning on telling the part where I died because it just didn't seem to be age appropriate. But when my 9-year-old asked, "Did you die a little bit?" I couldn't lie. I told him what had happened. And then he asked something that a lot of adults actually asked me, "Did you see the light?" And I answered him honestly, like I did to all the adults, that I didn't see anything. He responded, "Oh, well, that's probably because you went to hell." That was the first good laugh I enjoyed since this all happened, and I'm so grateful for my life and my family. And when you put the kids to bed, when I wasn't there, later that night, what did they say to you?
Well, we just talked a little bit more about it, and I was told that I was a superhero. So
Do you feel that one?
I think I just did what anyone else would do in that situation. I do.
I think you are, and I think most of the world reckons you are too. Rhonda is a hero. She's my hero. I owe her my life, but she's incredibly humble about it. Although 2 nights ago she asked me if she was annoying me, and when I replied, "Yep, so go away," she responded, "But I saved your life." I guess I'll never be living this one down, and so I shouldn't. She brought me back safe and sound. I know there's a lot of people out there that want to thank you. There's probably a few people there that don't want to thank you. They're really angry. What's your message to them?
Which ones?
Well, both.
Well, he's here to stay. It wasn't his day.
Whether they like it or not.
That's right. I'll keep him alive as long as I can.